Hello and welcome to My Finance Teacher. Today is 7th of February 2018. Talking about gold in this video. Starting this video actually by looking at what's happening to the US dollar. It seems that several days ago, the US dollar has reached a daily cycle low. Gold has been rallying for 3-4 days, and as you see here, it actually bounced back down from this line, which is the 20-day moving average. It seems that this 20-day moving average over the next day or two is going to act as a resistance line. Nevertheless, I think it is quite possible that the US dollar is going to break above this 20-day moving average over the next several days. I don't think US dollar is going to rally for too long though, anywhere between a week and a couple of weeks. When this daily cycle started, the US dollar has only been rallying for under a couple of weeks. Something similar might happen. Generally, I think the US dollar is going to continue this intermediate decline within this intermediate cycle. For that reason, I think the rally is going to last for maybe about several days to a couple of weeks. The intermediate cycle itself started here in the early September, a rally over here within the first daily cycle, followed by a general decline. These cycles generally last for about half a year, which means that it is quite likely that the dollar will reach the end of this cycle sometime in March, which is relatively soon. That will give us a couple of months within this last daily cycle. With all of this in mind, how this affects our expectations about gold? Well, gold seems to be in this bull flag. After this consolidation finishes over the next several days, gold is very likely to continue the intermediate rally within the next daily cycle. So I think this over here is going to be our first daily cycle in gold, and these generally last for about a couple of months. So since this cycle started in the middle of December, sometime in the middle of February is just on the nose in terms of a possible duration for this daily cycle in gold. After that, we're going to enter a new daily cycle. We're going to rally. I think we are going to get close to at least 1380, possibly close to 1400. This daily cycle decline, I think, is going to last for another several days, just while the dollar is rallying. After that, just as I mentioned, we're going to enter a new daily cycle. The intermediate cycle at that time will reach its top with the top of the next daily cycle, anywhere between 1380 and 1400. And after that, we'll enter the declining phase of the intermediate cycle with the last cycle creating a lower low. Of course, nobody knows the future, but generally that's how it usually plays out. Next, I want to have a look at GDX, the gold miners. And oh my word, GDX has lost a lot over the last few days. Well, why did GDX lose over the last 3 days when gold, it didn't lose as much? Well, actually, if you go to 4-hour charts on both the gold and GDX, you will see that the trading days for GDX coincided exactly with the time when there was a decline. These two candles, 8-hour candles, and these two candles. So basically, whenever the stock market was open in US, gold was going down, and that precipitated this decline in GDX. When US stock market was closed, gold actually did come back to sort of previous levels the day before, but it was not reflected in. On one hand, there is a possibility that GDX is going to correct upwards especially given that gold is now going back up as well towards its sort of a short-term moving average on this 4-hour chart. In addition, GDX is stretched far below the 20-day moving average. Let's have a look at the daily chart. GDX is stretched far below the 20-day moving average, and it should revert back towards this 20-day moving average. So for that reason, I think there is a possibility that GDX is going to correct upwards in line with what has been going on in gold over the last several days and what is going on in gold today. However, very often movements in gold stocks act as a signal regarding what's going to happen with gold in general. So if a lot of institutional investors expect gold to go down from here, they would start selling and shorting the gold mining companies. So for that reason, this scenario that I outlined so far, where we continue down for the next several days and then move on into the new daily cycle to create a higher high, all of this I'm going to call scenario A. And there is another possibility then, that we're entering a declining phase in the intermediate cycle in gold. And this possibility exists based on a couple of factors. Firstly, gold miners often signal what is going to happen to gold in general. And secondly, there is a possibility that the US dollar intermediate cycle has finished. These cycles generally last for half a year. The current one started in early September. It is now early February, so that gives us 5 months, which is close enough for normal duration in an intermediate cycle in dollar. If this is an intermediate cycle in dollar, then the next rally in dollar is not going to last just for several days. It might last for several weeks, giving us a strong rebound back up. If that is the case, that is going to be difficult for gold to create a higher high. So there is a scenario B, where dollar has finished with its intermediate cycle. It's going to start a new intermediate cycle. In that case, gold is going to continue down for quite a while, since dollar is going to move up. We might go down to a previous support zone close to 1280, then enter a new daily cycle. In that case, we are unlikely to create a higher high. Daily cycle is only going to give us a temporary bounce, followed by a continued decline within this intermediate cycle. Of course, in that case, it means that gold has already topped within this intermediate cycle. This would be our scenario B. Since we are relatively early within this intermediate cycle in gold, I think I would give something like 65% chance to scenario A. We're going to have a higher high in gold, and probably something like 35% chance to this scenario B, where we have already topped in gold. In either case, in terms of trading strategy, I would suggest waiting for the top of the next daily cycle to sell your gold positions, which you have probably entered somewhere in the middle of December. That's what I'm going to do. Good luck with your trades, and thank you for your attention.